Revealed. The maid's incredible NO that transformed a millionaire's life in 30 days. Maria's days flowed like a whirlwind, fast and frenetic. At 32, she wore the heavy load of a single mother proudly, 1 part resilience and 1 part determination. Cleaning the immaculate homes of Silicon Valley's elite, she scrubbed floors and wiped counters, all while her heart tugged at the thought of her 10-year-old son, Eddie. Each missed moment felt like a weight, a reminder of the lives racing by outside their modest apartment. But all that would change with one bold moment. As she stepped into Mark's sprawling mansion that day, a chill of emptiness enveloped her. It was a palace of wealth, yet silence screamed louder than any sound. She could feel the cold marble floors echo with loneliness. Mark, a self-made millionaire, was ensnared in the glittering web he had spun, and it became evident to her that wealth hadn't brought him warmth. As Maria dusted a shelf lined with trophies, a bitter testament to hard work devoid of love, she found herself studying Mark. He looked tired, eyes shadowed like the weight of his empire pressed upon him. Her heart raced. Standing there with a mop in hand, surrounded by opulence, she heard a voice inside her urging her to speak up. That voice didn't belong to the meek maid who worried about keeping a job. It was the mother desperate for a connection. "Mr. Mark," she called out, catching him off guard. "You have an amazing home, but it feels empty. Don't you feel that?" Taken aback, he blinked as if she had tossed cold water on him. "I can't afford distractions," he replied curtly, stepping back into the abyss of his spreadsheets and meetings. "Oh," she thought, "enough is enough. I'm not trying to distract you. I'm trying to help you see that perfection isn't worth being lonely for." His deep-set eyes widened, and he opened his mouth, clearly outraged. But instead, a creeping realization settled in. What had once felt like an ordinary exchange leaned into something much bigger, a connection. They had shifted from maid and millionaire to 2 souls standing in the chaos of life, searching for meaning. What began as an awkward confrontation became a budding friendship, an unexpected reflection of yearning for real human connection. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mark began to rethink everything: his career, his daughter Claire, who he hadn't seen in years. Their conversations unfolded over the weeks. Maria's frankness and insistence on the importance of family started to chip away at Mark's protective wall. Together, they hashed out what it meant to truly be successful. The buzz of success was meaningless in a hollow home, and slowly, the wealthy CEO began to realize he didn't only need to reclaim his title, but the love he lost. But just as they were finding their footing, a scandal erupted at Mark's company, scrambling everything he stood for. Maria watched as his familiar stress rose, sensing the tide of his former self threatening to pull him back in. She urged him to remain steadfast, to choose family over fleeting riches. The world pulsed with uncertainty, and the risk of failure loomed heavy in the air. Would he chase after another hollow victory, or grapple and wrestle his way into the embrace of true redemption? The stakes were high, the atmosphere electric. And in that fragile moment of connection, questions hung in the air: what really defines a person's worth? As Maria and Mark stood on the brink of decision, everything felt poised to shift. Attention filled the air, thick and tangible. As Maria watched Mark fidgeting with his phone, glancing at the news notifications that flashed across the screen, she could see the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers trembled on the device. He was being pulled into the chaos that threatened to drag not just his company, but also his newfound purpose, the hope he had unearthed with Maria. "You need to face this," Maria encouraged softly, aware that the stakes had climbed to an all-time high. "You can't let fear overshadow everything you've worked for, and everything you've started to believe in." Mark looked up, his expression grave. "What if I fail? What if I lose everything?" His voice cracked slightly, a fissure exposing the insecurities he tried so hard to suppress. "What if you don't?" Maria replied, her gaze steady. "What if confronting this scandal leads to rebuilding, to something far greater than your old life? Sometimes we have to risk it all to find what truly matters." Silence enveloped them. Mark felt the weight of her words settle in his heart. Would risking it all mean risking Maria? The thought sent his mind racing. He had started to look forward to their conversations, her laughter echoing through his home, brightening the shadows that had lingered for too long. But if he plunged into battle without a plan, could he protect her too? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know if I can do it alone. I've always fought my battles alone." "You don't have to," Maria gently replied, leaning a bit closer. "You have me. Let us face this together. Sometimes you have to trust others to help carry the load." He took a deep breath, finding strength in her words, but doubt gnawed at the edges of his resolve. Don't get too attached, he thought. Didn't he deserve to lean on someone else when he had spent years building walls to keep everyone out? But as days turned into weeks, their bond deepened. They laughed over coffee during breaks, shared stories of their lives, his filled with privilege and loneliness, hers marred by struggle but bursting with love. Maria painted a picture of what family meant, challenging him to envision a future that included not just success, but connection, authenticity. Then, one fateful afternoon, while they were sorting through documents at his office, Mark received an email from the board. A meeting was called to address the scandal. Panic surged through him. What would they say? How would they react? Maria sensed his turmoil, placing a reassuring hand on his arm, grounding him. "You know what to do," she whispered. "Remind them of who you really are. Show them that this scandal doesn't define you or your company." As the clock ticked closer to the meeting, he felt like time had come to a standstill. The weight of anticipation pressed down on him, each second stretching between hope and fear. He was not just fighting for himself. He felt like he was fighting for a chance to reclaim his life, for the relationship with his daughter, and for the warmth he had found with Maria. "Remember, it is all about connection," Maria reminded him softly before he stepped into the conference room. "You're not just a CEO, you're a human being who cares." Mark nodded, heart pounding in his chest. He took a deep breath and entered the room, a swirl of doubt and determination crashing through him. As he faced the board, he felt Maria's presence with him like a silent partner. She had breathed life into parts of him he had long thought buried. But despite the charged atmosphere, he had one question tugging at his mind. Was it too late to embrace the vulnerability they had built together? Would describing his failures also risk losing Maria's faith in him? As the heavy door closed behind him, Mark wondered if he was ready to confront not just the board, but also the truth of his own heart. What would he choose as he stood on the brink of losing it all? Would he take that leap, or could he even wrestle his way free of the past? The room felt like a pressure cooker as Mark settled into the large conference chair. All eyes were on him, scrutinizing, judging, demanding answers, while the sun filtered through the window, casting an unsettling glare over the polished table. A wall of faces, each one filled with unspoken opinions, concern, and fear. He swallowed hard, trying to remember Maria's words. "You're not just a CEO, you're a human being who cares." "Let us get started," one of the board members sighed, breaking the silence. Mark could feel the weight of his own insecurities pressing down, but as he glanced toward the door, a flicker of hope surged within him. Maria was out there, waiting. That alone made him stronger. He cleared his throat, forcing himself to sit taller. "Thank you for coming on such short notice," he began, each word trembling as it left his lips. "I know the news surrounding our company has been," he hesitated, gathering the courage to say it. "Difficult. It's painful for all of us." A murmur of agreement rippled through the board as he continued. "But this does not define us. It doesn't define what we've built together." Slowly, he started to reveal the truth, explaining not just the mistakes made, but the systemic issues that had led to them. He opened up about the failures and the pressure he faced. "I took on too much, thinking I could handle it all alone," he admitted, feeling the past weighing heavily on his shoulders. And there it was, the gasp in the room when he told them what his struggles had cost. I almost lost everything and everyone I cared about. For a moment, he saw concern etched into their faces. This was about more than just business for them. They were reacting to the man they had known all these years, the one they thought was invincible. The tension shifted. But let me tell you what really changed, he said, his voice steady now. Maria. She reminded me of the importance of family and connection. The truth is, I've been running from vulnerability, thinking it was weakness when it was the key to facing our challenges together. As he shared his interaction with Maria, some members smiled softly. She had brought a warmth into his heart that he never anticipated. It was the kind of relationship that made him question everything he thought he knew about success. And then came the silence, the kind of silence that hung in the air, thick with possibility. The board watched as emotions flickered across his face, and he could sense a shift. He spoke about plans for accountability, transparency, and rebuilding trust, insisting that they needed to embrace the vulnerability as a team, rally around one another like a family. Just as he finished, the board chair leaned in. Mark, you're claiming this is an opportunity for growth, but what does that mean for our stakeholders? The question hung in the air, ominous and heavy. It was the reality check he feared. All I know is that the only way forward is together, he replied, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. Let us set up a town hall, communicate with our employees, and make it clear we're in this together. They deserve to know they're not alone. Risky, another board member muttered. Maybe not, Mark said with a hint of a smile. But if we don't take the risk now, we might lose everything. A volley of murmurs erupted around the room. Some leaned in with interest, others exchanged skeptical glances. It was an uncertain moment, yet it felt transformative. Mark held firm. Knowing this wasn't just about his company, it was about doing what was right as he left the room. The weight felt lighter, but anxiety still danced in his chest. The confrontation had released something within him and opened a door he wasn't sure he was ready to walk through. Would they embrace his vision? Outside, he spotted Maria waiting, confidence radiating from her. He caught her eye and felt a rush of warmth flow through him. What happened? She asked, her voice dripping with concern and hope. He hesitated, his mind racing. Would it be enough? I took the leap, but now it's up to them to decide. Just hope they see what I see. As hope glimmered in her eyes, he couldn't help but ask, do you think being vulnerable can really rebuild trust? And as her smile brightened, a new question swirled in the air. Could their bond withstand the reality of the challenges that lay ahead? Mark stared at Maria, his heart racing. He could see the weight of uncertainty in her eyes, mirroring his own. I don't know, she admitted, but I believe we can't hide anymore, especially not from each other. Vulnerability can be scary, but it can also be the start of something healing. Her words settled around him like a comforting blanket, yet the fear of the unknown still gnawed at his edges. They walked together, Maria's presence providing a steady reassurance. What if they turn against you? She asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. It's a risk, he replied, glancing up at her. But if we don't try, we might lose everything. I can't keep pretending we're okay when we're not. They made their way to the parking lot, where the rumble of resonating engines faded into the background. Mark's mind flickered with thoughts of the board meeting, the faces of his colleagues replaying in his head. Would they fall back into their old ways? Would they fight him every step of the way? As they reached the car, Maria paused, her hand resting gently on his arm. You're stronger than you think, Mark. Remember, the journey begins with one step. Her encouragement ignited something in him, a small spark of hope. He truly wanted to create a place where everyone felt seen and valued. It wasn't just about business anymore. It was about belonging, about community. Right, he said, forcing a smile. Time to embrace that vulnerability. Later that evening, Mark sat at his desk staring at the town hall invitation he had drafted. As he crafted the message, his fingers hovered over the keyboard. The words flowed in a gentle stream, each line pulling at his heart. We are not perfect, but we are committed to transparency. Join me to discuss what our future holds. He let out a long breath, the weight of his fears coiling around him. What if they didn't show up? What if they felt betrayed? The potential rejection loomed heavy, yet he typed on, knowing this was part of the process. His heart thudded loudly in his chest, the uncertainty mingling with anticipation. With each word he typed, he felt lighter. It was time to break down the walls, to let them see him not just as a leader but as a person facing struggles, just like everyone else. The night crept in, and so did the quiet thoughts of doubt. What if transparency scared them away? What if they couldn't handle the truth? Would he be left alone, grappling with the very challenges he wanted to overcome? His phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a message from Maria. "Don't forget you're not alone. You've got this." He smiled at her unwavering belief in him. Maybe love and trust could rebuild what felt broken. Maybe this was the moment to loosen the grip of fear. The following day, a cloud of anxiety settled over the office. As he paced the floor, preparing himself for the town hall, he could see whispers and doubtful eyes behind carefully constructed masks of professionalism. He took a deep breath, crossing paths with a few familiar faces. They seemed conflicted, their expressions flickering between concern and curiosity. Could they trust him? It was a challenge, but he welcomed it. As he stepped into the conference room, he noted the murmured conversations ceasing. Eyes locked on him once again. His heart raced like a wild drum. "I want to talk about our path forward," he began, feeling every nerve in his body awakening. Rather than fear, he spoke with a newfound determination. "And I want us to do it together." The atmosphere thickened as he sensed the shift in energy. Some were leaning in, intrigued. Others sat frozen, wrapped in skepticism. But the words were out there now, unfiltered, raw, and real. There was no turning back. As he steadied himself for what was to unfold, he wondered what reaction would this honesty evoke. And just like that, he stepped into the unknown, poised on the edge of transformation. As a single question echoed in his mind, could he really handle the truth of their responses? Mark took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. The room felt charged, alive with anticipation as he scanned the faces before him, familiar yet transformed by the invisible barriers that had formed over the years. "I know that our company has had its fair share of struggles," he continued, voice firm but laced with sincerity. "We've faced challenges. But what I want to share today is not merely about profits or losses. It's about us. It's about who we are as a team and as individuals." A few colleagues exchanged glances, some eyebrows raised in skepticism. Mark noted that, and it ignited a fierce determination within him. Vulnerability, he realized, wasn't just for him, it was for them too. Maybe they needed someone to take the first step, to show them that it was okay to share their fears and dreams. "But I also believe," he added, "that vulnerability is an opportunity for healing. It allows us to build trust, to improve not only our environment but also our relationships." He leaned against the table, letting the words wash over him. "I've learned that honesty can be scary, but it can also be the catalyst for change. I'm here to tell you that I want to make this a safe space for all of us. The kind of space where we can share not only our successes but also our failures without fear of judgment." The silence that hung in the air felt heavy yet promising. People began to lean in, absorbing his message. Mark could see flickers of recognition, people realizing they too held the keys to transformation. "I know some of you may think this is impossible," he said, scanning the room. "You might feel betrayed or uncertain about what I'm proposing. But how can we expect to grow unless we embrace our reality? We can either keep wearing these masks, or we can unmask together and build something new." A voice broke through the stillness. "And what if we don't trust you, Mark?" It was Carla, one of the most skeptical members of the team, crossing her arms defensively. Mark felt his heart drop but took a moment to gather his thoughts. "That's fair," he admitted, nodding. "Trust takes time and is something that can't be demanded. It must be earned. I know my actions moving forward need to reflect my words. I'm asking you to allow me that chance." The murmurs began to trickle back. A low hum of discussions ignited among the employees. He could hear fragments of doubt, hesitance turning into curiosity. For the first time, he sensed the barriers beginning to dissolve. It was exhilarating, yet frightening. You mentioned building something new. Another colleague piped up, her voice gaining clarity. What exactly do you have in mind? Mark's throat tightened as he faced another pivotal moment. He hadn't worked it all out in his head. I want to hear what you envision too. Let us hold regular meetings where everyone can contribute openly. We can brainstorm solutions together, leverage each other's skills, and share our fears and aspirations. Doubt still flickered in the eyes around him, but the tension was shifting. He could feel it. Maybe, just maybe, they were ready to embrace this new path. The minutes stretched as Mark watched the room register the implications of his proposal. Suddenly, a quiet voice piped up from the back. I believe you, a young intern said, emotion punching through the room. If we're all willing to try, we could really make a difference together. Mark's heart swelled. He caught Maria's eye, and she offered him a proud smile from the corner. The atmosphere was pulsing with possibility, ascending above the doubts that had once loomed large. Let us take this leap, he said, a feeling of determination washing over him. We don't know what lies ahead, but I assure you the first step is right here, right now. As he ended his address, he felt lighter, the pressure shifting from his chest. They were ready to engage, to explore, to trust. Yet, somewhere in that moment of hope, a lingering question remained in his mind: did they truly recognize the power behind this first step? And as the applause broke the silence, one thing became clear. This was the beginning of an incredible journey, and the real challenge was just around the corner. What unforeseen obstacles would they face together now? Mark stepped down from the podium, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. The applause rang in his ears, a sound both invigorating and disorienting. He hadn't expected such a warm response. It was as if the room had transformed, igniting sparks of hope where doubt had reigned. Yet, as he walked back to his seat, the weight of his vulnerability pressed on him. He didn't have all the answers. The faces in the crowd represented lives woven with complexity, stories buried beneath layers of corporate polish. Would they really engage? Would they share their true selves in the weeks to come? Maria, ever the optimist, sidled up to him. That was amazing, Mark. Everyone is buzzing. You truly struck a chord. He offered her a grateful smile, but doubt crept back in. What if it's just a fleeting moment? A flash of excitement that fades before we make real progress? Then we warn each other, she replied, her confidence infectious. But let us focus on the possibility. You've opened a door. It's up to us to walk through it. Right? Mark said, still feeling the tumult in his gut. But deep inside, he felt a flicker of belief. Together, they could shape this new environment. As the days turned into a week, Mark made it a point to foster open communication. He set up the first round of meetings, inviting everyone to share their thoughts. The first session was a mixed bag. Some employees were enthusiastic, diving right in, while others remained withdrawn, their initial barriers still intact. He reminded himself that change took time. In one of those meetings, Carla surprised him. I appreciate what you're trying to do, Mark, she acknowledged, her voice softening. But I'm still processing my own feelings about this place. It's hard to shake years of doubt. And that's okay, Carla, Mark reassured her. We're not rushing. This isn't about overnight transformation. It's about honest conversations. We're in this together. The subsequent meetings gradually opened the floodgates. Laughter, tears, and candid discussions flowed. People began to share their struggles, their hopes. The office that was once stifled with unspoken grievances morphed into a hub of raw, authentic connection. Yet Mark was troubled. Even as the team bonded over shared experiences, he noticed a lingering tension within the group. Suspicions and old rivalries simmered just beneath the surface, threatening to erupt like a dormant volcano. In a particularly candid discussion one afternoon, James, another skeptical team member, pointed out the traps of vulnerability. You all talk about sharing your dreams, but what about the harsh realities? What if we fail? What if this whole thing falls apart? His words hung heavy in the air. Mark felt the room's energy shift. Their newfound openness was suddenly fraught with anxiety. What if we fail? He echoed quietly. Well, isn't that a part of our journey? Failure is just an opportunity to learn. but hiding from it, that one T help us grow. As he spoke, he realized something profound. They were all afraid not just of failure but of the dark corners of their hearts they had kept hidden. The path ahead was going to be rocky, fraught with stumbling blocks they couldn't foresee. Let us commit to being honest with each other. Even when it's hard, he continued. Real trust grows in adversity. In that moment, Mark caught Maria's gaze. Her encouragement felt like an anchor. The group began to nod, murmurs echoing around the room, acknowledging their shared apprehensions. Maybe they were ready to face the darkness together. As the session closed, Mark felt a tide of emotion surge within him. They had taken another step, albeit a wobbly one. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the real power of their collective struggle was starting to dawn on him. And just as he thought they were finding their way, a new email notification flashed across his screen, pulling him back to the reality outside the walls of that room. The subject line read, Urgent, potential layoffs in marketing, accompanied by names he didn't want to see. Panic gripped him, a cold wave of dread, mingled with hope. The ground beneath their progress felt shaky. Were they truly ready to confront this reality together? And could Mark find the strength to guide them through the storm that was brewing? Mark's heart raced as he read the email. Each name felt like an anchor dragging him under, threatening to pull the progress they'd made back into the shadows of doubt and fear. He looked around at his team, who were still buzzing with excitement from their recent breakthroughs. Could they peel back the layers of corporate fear and uncertainty once more? Maria was the first to notice his sudden stillness. She approached him, her brow furrowed. What's wrong? Mark swallowed hard, contemplating how to relay the news. It's bad. There are potential layoffs. Some of our team members might be let go. Her expression shifted, and for a moment, he saw panic flashing across her face before she steadied herself. We can't let that happen. Not now, not after everything we've built. A knot formed in Mark's stomach. This could shatter the trust we've established. People will retreat back into their shells. How do we fight that? Maria's eyes locked onto his, filled with determination. We show them that we're in this together. We can't let fear dictate our next steps. Mark knew she was right. Instead of letting despair creep in, it was time to galvanize the team. He took a deep breath and faced the group. Hey, everyone, can I have your attention for a moment? The chatter quieted down, and all eyes turned to him. I just received some unsettling news. There's a possibility of layoffs in our department. I can't pretend that this won't impact us, but I need each of you to understand that we will face this challenge with transparency. Together. Silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. He could see the worry on everyone's faces, old fears rising like smoke. I know that change can be daunting, and the unknown feels heavy, he added, trying to counteract the palpable anxiety. But I want us to lean on each other. We've begun to trust, we've begun to talk. Let us use this strength to lift each other up. After his speech, the room felt tense yet electric, with unspoken words waiting to erupt. Slowly, Carla raised her hand. Her voice trembled a bit, but she fought through the fear. If we could have more meetings, where we can discuss our options. Maybe we could brainstorm ways to show upper management how valuable we are. A ripple of agreement flowed through the group. Ideas began to blossom: brainstorming sessions, action plans, even a project to showcase their collective strengths and contributions. Mark watched as energy surged back into the room, the camaraderie rekindled by the urgency of their situation. The next few days were a whirlwind. They came together, fueled by a common cause. Team members stayed late, energized by an unusual vigor. They put together presentations and proposals, showcasing their dedication and the value of their work. Even James, who had seemed the most reluctant to engage initially, stepped up, offering his insights and skills. Yet amidst this newfound energy, Mark felt the burden of leadership weighing heavy. He questioned, were they truly prepared for whatever the outcome might be? Were they resilient enough to handle the storm brewing outside? As he prepared for the upcoming meeting with upper management, uncertainty gnawed at him. Would his team's efforts be recognized? Or would the specter of layoffs continue to loom over their heads like a storm cloud? Just when he thought he found a way forward, Maria interrupted his thoughts, pulling him back into the present. Mark, what if they don't listen? What if they're set in their ways? We're fighting uphill. Her words echoed his own fears. Then we'll keep fighting, Maria. Together. The weight of that promise settled in the room. They were stepping into unknown territory, a battle not just for their jobs but for the very culture they were working to build. And the reality of the impending meeting loomed ever closer. What if this wasn't just about retaining jobs, but redefining their future? Just then, Mark's phone buzzed again. A message from upper management read, "Meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Prepare your team for presentation." It was time to face the music. Could they convince their leaders that they deserved a chance? Mark steeled himself for whatever challenge awaited. But just as he turned back to the team, the door swung open, revealing someone he hadn't expected. The person stepping inside sent ripples of tension surging through the room. "Can we have a word, Mark?" the newcomer said, a serious tone in their voice. What did they want? And how would it change everything they had worked for? Mark's heart thudded against his ribs. The figure standing in the doorway was Jess, the head of human resources. A wave of concern washed over him. HR was not usually seen until something significant was about to unfold. He took a steadying breath, trying to mask the apprehension that bubbled beneath the surface. "Sure, Jess. What's going on?" he asked, forcing a calmness into his voice. Maria shot him a worried glance, the room still filled with an electric tension. Jess stepped in, closing the door behind her. Her eyes darted to the group, lingering momentarily before she returned her focus to Mark. "Can we speak in private?" Each word felt like a hammer driving home the weight of instability looming over them. Mark nodded, gesturing toward a quieter corner of the room. "Let us talk," he said, his heart racing faster than before. As they moved away from the group, he could feel a chill of uncertainty settle over him. Once they reached a secluded space, Jess straightened her posture. "Mark, I just came from an emergency board meeting. There are discussions happening at the highest levels about potential restructuring in response to the news." "What kind of restructuring?" Mark's voice was low, almost trembling. She hesitated, the weight of her next words hanging in the air. "There's a push to make significant changes quickly. They're exploring all options, including layoffs. I know you and your team have been working hard, but the situation is fluid. There's more urgency than I can express." Mark's mind raced, each pulse feeling like it might drown him. His team, the cohesion they were building, it felt like it was all slipping away. "Can't they see what we're doing? We've put everything into this. Our proposals, the presentations." Anger flared, but it was undercut by an avalanche of fear. How could he protect his people when he felt exposed himself? Jess softened her demeanor, lowering her voice. "I believe in you and your team. I'm not here to discourage you. I'm just saying it's important you be prepared. There might be another meeting soon, one that could turn the tide if you handle it correctly." "Another meeting?" Mark interrupted, his heart quickening. "When? Is there anything I should know?" She shifted her weight, unsure. "Soon. As for what to know, make sure you highlight your team's accomplishments, not just figures on a spreadsheet. Show them the human side of this, how you're building resilience, curiosity, and teamwork. That's what they need to see right now." Just then, a flood of emotions crashed over him: hope, desperation, and the instinct to protect his team. "I can't lose them, Jess. Not after everything. We've worked too hard to get where we are. What if we don't get a chance to show them?" Jess reached out, briefly touching his arm in reassurance. "You have to believe in what you've built. More importantly, you have to make them believe in it too." As she walked back to the room, a mixture of dread and newfound determination surged within Mark. He returned to the team, who were still buzzing with ideas, but now wore worry mixed with their excitement. "Hey everyone," he called, gathering their attention. "We need to talk about what's next. What Jess just said changes things. We have to prepare and make sure our voices are heard. Are you with me?" A chorus of yes echoed back, and the energy shifted again, igniting a brighter flame. Carla took the lead, suggesting they revise the presentation to emphasize their collective spirit, their shared humanity. Each suggestion built upon the last, an overwhelming sense of unity growing stronger. But in the back of Mark's mind, the ticking clock gnawed at him. With each passing moment, he felt the gravity of the situation closing in. Would it be enough? Would their efforts resonate with management? Or would it all come crashing down? As they wrapped up their strategy session, Mark noticed a glimmer of something in Maria's eyes, a flicker of what could be, and he hoped it was the spirit of resilience. Tomorrow is crucial, he said firmly. We can't just prepare. We need to show them who we are. Yet as the team rallied, a seed of doubt whispered in his ear. Could they really turn the tide? And before he could voice his concerns, a text flashed on his phone. It was from an unknown number, an ominous message reading, "I know what's coming for your team. You're in over your head." His breath caught. What did this mean? How deep was the rabbit hole they were about to plunge into? Mark stared at the screen, the weight of the message sinking in. Sweat pricked his forehead, and his thoughts spiraled into a terrifying abyss. Whatever this was, it felt personal and dangerous. "Hey, everything okay?" Carla's voice broke through, pulling him back into the moment. She was perched on the edge of her chair, concern etched across her face. "Yeah, just." Mark hesitated, torn between sharing his fear and protecting his team from unnecessary anxieties. Just a message from a contact. Nothing to worry about. But it wasn't just nothing. He needed to figure this out. "Listen," he said, rallying the team once more. "Let us make sure we're all set for tomorrow. We need everything polished and ready. Each of you has a key part to play." The group nodded, their faces a mix of determination and apprehension. Mark could feel the collective heartbeat of their hopes rising and crashing like ocean waves, an urge to fight against the tide of uncertainty. As the team divided their tasks, Mark pulled Maria aside. "Can we talk for a second?" "Sure, what's up?" She looked a bit apprehensive, her brows knitted together. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "I got a message. It's disconcerting. Someone seems to know about what could happen to us." "What do you mean?" she whispered, glancing around like a conspirator. "I don't know who it's from, but they warned me about some impending trouble, something we might not be ready for." Maria's eyes widened. "What does this mean? Should we tell everyone?" "Not yet," he replied firmly but with a hint of worry. "I want to keep the morale high. Let us focus on the presentation, and we'll figure the rest out later." As the team began their preparations, Mark felt a growing knot in his stomach. The words lingered in his mind, pushing solid anxieties into the forefront. "You're in over your head." What if the warning was true? What if Jess was only an echo of a more ominous reality? Hours flew by in a blur of PowerPoint slides and strategy discussions. Mark poured everything he had into each slide, determined to present the infectious enthusiasm he saw in his team. Late in the evening, as they wrapped up, the team shared a moment of camaraderie. They laughed, joked, and clinked their coffee mugs together. In that moment, the fear felt distant, replaced by a tangible bond that seemed unbreakable. Yet, beneath the surface, doubt still simmered. Mark's mind flickered back to the message. Who was behind it? And what did they truly know? Finally, he made a decision. Before he slept, he would respond to the anonymous text. He looked at the number again, contemplating the risks. Maybe they held the key to the truth, or perhaps they were just shadows trying to take down what they had built. His fingers hovered over the screen, poised to type. "What do you mean by that? Who are you?" The moment he hit send, a ripple of vulnerability coursed through him. As the night wrapped him in its quiet embrace, he tried to shake off the ominous feelings. Tomorrow was going to be monumental for his team. They needed to be strong together. Just then, his phone buzzed again. The message slid onto the screen, cold and sharp. "If you proceed with the presentation, you'll regret it." Mark's heart raced, his breath quickened. How deep did this go? What was waiting for them just around the corner? Unable to shake the chill that crept up his spine, he knew the stakes were higher than ever before. But it wasn't just his career or team's future at risk. This was about everything he'd ever hoped for and built. As he lay awake, thoughts whirling, it hit him. He couldn't fight this alone. He needed to rally everyone, even if it meant unveiling more danger. What if this was the moment where everything changed forever? Could they face the storm together? Or was this a tempest they'd never see coming? Mark woke up with the sun streaming through his window, shining light on the fears that had tangled in his mind all night. Today was the day everything he'd fought for, everything his team had been building, hung in the balance. He could feel the tension thrumming beneath his skin, but he also felt a growing flame inside. There was strength in vulnerability, and together they would turn this moment into something powerful. He stepped into the office with purpose, a new conviction coursing through him. He spotted Maria already brewing a fresh pot of coffee, the aroma filling the air like a warm embrace. She caught his eye and gave him a reassuring nod, as if she knew the storm that had been brewing inside him. As the team gathered, Mark felt the familiar wave of anxiety wash over him, but he banished it. "All right, everyone," he called, clapping his hands together. "Today is big, and we're going to face it together no matter what comes our way." The energy in the room surged. They exchanged knowing glances, united in their shared struggle. Before heading into that pivotal meeting with upper management, Mark gathered everyone in a circle. "I know we're anxious," he began, scanning their faces. "But I also know that we've built something real here. We're not just presenting numbers, we're presenting us. We're showing them the heart of this company." Their eyes lit up, not just with hope but with possibility. Carla stepped forward, her voice steady. "We're not just a team, we're a family, and families support each other." Mark wanted to embrace that sentiment. They were authentic and strong. "Exactly. Today we'll show them what makes us worth believing in. Our accomplishments, our spirit. We've faced challenges, and we'll continue to face them. Let us remind them that at our core we're human." They finalized their presentation with fervor, everyone contributing their unique strengths. Mark felt pride swell within him. This was something special more than business. This was about connection. With minutes to spare before the meeting, Mark's phone buzzed ominously. He glanced at it, eyeing the anonymous message again. His heart sank but was met with Maria's grounding presence beside him. "You've got this," she whispered, her confidence wrapping around him like armor. With a nod, he silenced the fear whispering inside his mind. They stepped into the conference room, the atmosphere thick and electric with anticipation. Upper management sat, their expressions cool and expectant. As Mark began speaking, he felt the familiarity of dread creeping back, but pushed through. He wasn't just a CEO. He was a man who cared about his people. He opened with gratitude, showcasing the hard work of his team, their dedication, their humanity. "This isn't just about numbers, this is about our collective journey. Together we've turned struggles into triumphs. We've built trust where there was none. And today my hope is to continue that." As he spoke, he watched the faces around the table. He saw surprise, contemplation, genuine interest. They soaked in the changes that had moved through his squad, feeling the authenticity radiating from the team they overlooked so often. With every word, he chiseled away those old barriers, determination filling the room. The presentation flowed, each member stepping in with passion and flair. They tackled the concerns, reinforcing their vulnerabilities, presenting solutions, not just challenges. He could feel the energy shifting, the connections forming again. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Carla's hand zipping up into the air. "I just want to say," she began nervously, "the trust we've built as a team is what needs to be reflected in our leadership. If we're talking about change, it needs to come from the top down. We're ready to back you, Mark, if you're willing to take that leap with us." The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement, hope swelling in every nod that followed. Mark caught Maria's sparkle of pride. There it was, a transformation blooming right before him, that he took a deep breath, summoning the courage that felt infectious. "I cannot guarantee success, but what I can promise is that we'll commit to transparency. We'll embrace this fight together and create an environment where innovation thrives." He watched as eyebrows lifted, interested murmurs circulating. Hope filled the air. They had ignited something that could not be quenched. Soon, one of the board members leaned in, a smile breaking through the stoic facade. And that's precisely what we need, Mark. A collective effort. Forging ahead with accountability. All the gathered tension felt like it was exhaling. Mark felt a grin creep across his face. This was a moment of collective rebirth. As the meeting wrapped up, Mark's heart raced. They weren't just defending jobs. They were reclaiming their spirit. He stepped from the room and couldn't help but pull Maria close, relief and gratitude washing over him. We did it, he exhaled, watching the spark of light in her eyes. But just as the tension seemed to clear, Mark heard the hushed whispers from behind them. The ominous figure of Jess arrived. Glancing around like a messenger from the dark future, he thought they were transcending. "We need to talk," she said, a grave weight in her tone. His heart dropped, fear crashing back in. Was all of this too good to be true? Was there still more lurking around the corner? "Do we have to?" Maria asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mark could feel the shadows creeping back into view as he nodded slowly. "Let us hear her out." In the stillness that followed, Mark braced himself for the final confrontation. He could feel Maria's hand in his, grounding him amidst the uncertainty. Together, they faced whatever storm lay ahead, ready to fight, united in their commitment to change. The real journey was just beginning, and he was determined to navigate it together, step by step. Now, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. You all are the true fans who understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep the journey alive.